Hello, welcome back to my channel. Long time no see. We won't dwell on that. I haven't made a YouTube video in about a year, so
I'm too busy with TikTok.
on TikTok. Yeah, I think that's what everyone's done. The reason we're here today is basically this is my friend Joe, and we have been talking about starting a podcast for a really long time.
Styling a podcast?
Starting.
Oh,
Sorry. I should enunciate more. We would like to start a podcast. But we don't know how to start a podcast. And my thing with anything really is just start. Start where you are. Don't wait until we've got the microphones and learned how to make podcasts or whatever. Let's just start now, because the first one will probably be crap anyway.
Yeah.
So this is our
It is, right?
Yeah.
Scrap!
This is our terrible first episode. It will live here on YouTube, and by the time we're good at it, hopefully we'll be in your ears while you're running or walking your dog or whatever you do. Yeah. This will be chatty. We won't be using many visual aids, so feel free to just put your phone in your pocket and listen. And let us know how it works as an audio experience. Well, let's start the show. Da-da-da. Welcome to Questioning Fashion. We still liking the name? Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
I feel like Stephen Fry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where we question our relationship with an industry that we very much love but recognise has a lot of problems.
Yeah.
I'm Ali. This is Joe.
Hello.
We both run sustainable fashion businesses. We are currently in my vintage dress hire shop. And what are you doing?
And I am a sustainable stylist, which in my kind of case means I deal in almost exclusively in second-hand fashion. So teaching people who might not otherwise go op shopping and vintage shopping how to do that so they can be more sustainable and original also in their style.
Which is kind of what I do as well. I look after those people for events, and you look after them for their everyday wardrobe. But also for events.
Also
as well,
for events. Well, I bring clients here, and that's why we met, right?
We have a lot of crossover audience.
Yeah.
We have a lot to talk about. So
that's what we discovered. Because every time I come in here for a quick, just pop my head in, ends up being an hour later.
It's a while.
So we may have to edit this podcast right down.
Definitely. So the format that I think would work best for two chatty people who get distracted easily is to pick a topic and write some questions to ask each other or to you or to any,
Yeah, well, eventually, hopefully, some questions might come from you.
Yes.
If this goes to plan.
And that gives us a little bit of structure, but just something to keep us a little bit on track. Today's topic that we decided to start with is personal style.
What does personal style mean to you?
I think personal style is the thing that's in common with everything that you wear, like the common thread, the one thing that pulls it all together.
Yeah, right.
And so I don't think it needs to have a name.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs to look like a uniform, although for some people it might. And I don't think it needs to be definable. It doesn't. I see a lot of people, particularly on TikTok, sort of being like, what is my personal style? And I think everyone has a personal style.
Yeah.
And maybe it does help to identify what it is to help, not buy as much stuff you're never going to wear.
Yeah.
But I don't think it needs to be as tightly defined as people think.
Yeah,
what do you reckon?
I agree. I feel like people love to put names to things, and I made a catalogue for new clients and it was kind of like how I guess it was trying to discover what their personal style was for myself and for themselves because a lot of clients who come to me are the kind of people who don't think about what their personal style is, and that's part of their problem. They end up just kind of quite a confused wardrobe with no thread, I guess, for their pearls of.
But I do think there is something they might need help looking for.
Exactly, yeah. Well, this is the thing. So in the catalogue, I ended up doing categorizing, and it was probably, if you looked in too much detail, you'd realize that one was quite ethereal, romantic, one was quite kind of minimal, and one was quite bohemian, and of course then you start to think, oh well, I'm classic or I'm boho or whatever, but it kind of doesn't, and I encourage them to try and pick from more than one category. They kind of create their own rules, but I think it should just be a guide. It's a vibe.
Yes. But sometimes it's it might be the colours, or it might be the fit or the neckline. Because I have made wedding dresses for the last 10 years, and people come in with lots of ideas and go, sorry, I've got too many ideas and none of them have anything in common, so I don't know where you're going to start with that. And I'll look at all their ideas and go, well, they actually all have the same neckline, or they've all got fancy sleeves, and it's things that they don't even realise they've chosen. None of them are full length, things like that. And so even though they can look like very different things, it's still something that they obviously find comfortable to wear.
Yeah.
So I think
Well, I think that's a big thing, is that people who don't work in the fashion industry or don't have a total obsession with it like we do, they don't know how to kind of define their taste and therefore their style. They wouldn't know how to describe that type of neckline.
Yeah.
You know, or that kind of cut of skirt.
Yeah.
So
or even realize that they're always choosing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What was your personal style like when you were 20? I picked that age quite randomly, but mainly I'm talking about the time when you're out of your house, out of your parents' house, earning your own money, buying your own clothes.
Wow.
Was that at 20 or was that?
Yeah, well, I was trying to earn money. I was at university doing English and drama, and I was earning my own money at a bar, a cocktail bar, and I was spending all of my money on clothes.
Yeah.
But I was totally obsessed with fast fashion at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I was until my mid-20s, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, I always shopped vintage as well.
Yeah.
And I wore a vintage dress to my sixth form prom, whatever the equivalent is here.
Year 12 form?
Yeah. I loved the idea that fast fashion, because we never had money. We were really quite poor when I was growing up, and my mum would either make me clothes or take me to an op shop, which I hated at the time. The idea that I could actually spend money on new clothes was really exciting to me, and I bought some absolute crap, honestly. Awful. I'm not proud of my 20-year-old kind of costume.
Yeah, same.
What about you?
It was a lot of fast fashion. It was a bit of everything, and it was exciting that you could buy so many things for so little money. I would like to think that is changing, but I don't think it is, because the fast fashion shops that existed then have just turned into websites like Shein
being replaced by
teenagers are still very excited to get a lot of things for a little amount of money.
Right now they're
more aware of the problem, but it's still happening, which is sad.
Definitely.
But maybe it is part of discovering your style, is you need to
try everything,
buy a lot of things and try everything. I don't know.
So maybe. True. I remember definitely at the time, and right up until I guess my early 30s, I mean, I'm still really interested in trends, right? You know, people are kind of very.
I'm not anti-trend.
No, same. I mean, to me, that's what fashion's all about, constantly changing. And even if you're reinventing the wheel, it's with a little change or whatever. I like the cyclical nature of it. I like the movement of fashion. But I was just, there's a difference between the kind of appreciating it and dipping into it and actually just being kind of blindly led by it. And that's what I was doing. I mean, it was a lot slower back then, right?
Yeah.
But I remember buying a pair. Did you have it here in Australia? And obviously you're younger than me, so you might have been a bit further behind. It's basically like pants that have a kind of skirt attached to it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason that
I
hasn't
remember
come back in
desperately
fashion
wanting
yet.
that.
Yeah, I had those from Miss Selfridge. Did you have that shop?
No.
They were dark grey, just really
They were
horrible
always
synthetic fabric.
Yeah, they were always school uniform colours. They were never exciting.
It was.
They were black.
What was that?
I don't know, but I really wanted it.
I wonder, I would like to go back and look at the catwalks at the time and work out which designer was to blame for that.
This is funny. It's funny you mentioned that, because a lot of things so the period we're talking about, at least for me, was early 2000s. And I think of the early 2000s fashion as quite tacky and crap, because I wore it when I was 18, 19.
You were tacky and crap.
Yeah, exactly. Looking back, you see adult movie stars wearing the same thing on red carpets. I didn't realize, I thought it was just what the kids were doing. I didn't realize actual adults were dressing like that as well.
You watch, no offense because I love them, but you watch Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
And there's hardly any single thing that I see in that show that I actually like.
Yeah, and I remember liking it at the time.
Yeah. Like Lorelai Gilmore's kind of style is everything I hate about the late 90s, early 2000s. And her black kind of curled hair and all of that stuff. And it's, we're seeing it come back, right? And I feel like an old lady, because when I used to wear 60s and 70s as a teenager, my vintage, my mum was like, oh, too soon.
Yeah.
And I'm doing that now too.
Yeah.
But trying to appreciate it. The whole Paris Hilton thing, though, I didn't like it at the time. And I
did.
Did you?
But
that kind of Barbie doll.
No, I sort of did my own
pink
thing
satin
on it, as I was very into vintage as well. Remember the really tiny, low-waisted, very short, plaid skirts?
Oh yeah, which
And
are
I
back.
thought they were so
Miu Miu's
cute.
brought back.
Like,
Yeah, that's
you know,
true.
I think the only common thread from like my style as a teenager to now,
Yeah.
every time the weather gets cooler, I suddenly want to dress like a 70s American Ivy League college student.
And I'm just like that
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
I want the plaid skirts and
That's
like
so
some
true.
boots and tights and a jumper.
That's my
and
running theme
But
too.
it's changed shape over the years. Like
Yeah.
it used to be the plaid mini skirt and like always a jumper with like a white collar and like that. Like I would always wear shirts under the jumpers.
Oh,
whereas
you
now
mean
I
a white
tend
collar
to, like,
sticking out? Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
and, like, the
Totally.
cuff sticking out.
Clueless.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Like I
exactly.
still love the Clueless look. I mean,
Yeah,
that was early 2000s, right? That's probably
That
the
was
good.
95 then. Maybe.
Oh yeah. So yeah, of course. So it was in the mid
It's spread
90s.
through, yeah.
It got crapper, and I wonder if that's to do with the onset of fast fashion.
Probably.
That makes sense, doesn't
Yeah.
it? So it's not so much even the style, if you think about it. It's the syntheticness and the cheapness and the like. And I remember that shop SES when
Yes.
I first came to
Yeah.
Australia in 2000, and just
I used to buy
everything's
so much there though.
Yeah, so did
So
I.
they're always like at a train station and
Same.
you'd get to uni and go, oh, it's so much colder than I thought today. I'll buy
Yeah.
a $10 cardigan.
Oh, I think maybe it's that, and maybe I don't kind of dislike any style of because I often like to think that I'm pretty open-minded with style and fashion,
Yeah.
and I like even doing things that you'd think are really tasteless, but in a kind of ironic way, and just playing with the idea of style, just in general, and what is taste and all of that.
Yeah.
But I think what I truly hate at the end of it all is just that tackiness. But then again, juicy couture tracksuits, that is something I'll never. Maybe I would do a jacket with in a different way. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of never say never now because there are a lot of things that I've over the years been like, oh, I'll never do skinny jeans.
Yeah.
I love my flares.
I know, it's an interesting thing.
Never do mum jeans now. I always do mum
Yeah.
jeans.
I'll forever do mum jeans now.
Whose style do you love?
Well, I was thinking about this. I'm going to name a stylist, Patricia Field.
Yep.
And I actually don't love her personal style. I think she's the most talented stylist I've ever kind of come across.
I think she is too because she's the most talked about.
Yeah, exactly.
The other one I would say, and this is the point, I can't remember her name, but the stylist who did Clueless.
Oh,
is
yeah.
Also, obviously her work is talked about a lot because she's done other movies as well that are also talked about a lot in terms of style, but Patricia Field is the other one that because she did Emily in Paris, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I feel like
no matter what she touches, the fashion becomes a big part of the story.
Yes, and whether a lot of the time the story is like, oh my god, why does the character wear such hideous outfits? Like even Sex and the City at the time, a lot of the talk was like, why is she wearing all this stuff around New York? But we loved it.
I was always standing up for her, and I think my idea of my own personal style has always been. I think that Carrie Bradshaw first gave me permission to stop following trends in shops and start and kind of go back to the my vintage thing and go, okay, I can do the both, and I can create my own look
and to be a bit extra
and to not care. And because I've always been a bit of a show off, I was like, well, I don't mind getting attention even if it's negative. Like I'd rather that than be ignored. So for me that was an inspiration, just the idea of basically that your personal style can just be a creative outlet and a way of expressing yourself and your personality and having a laugh, or feeling like a princess or whatever it is. But so there's not one outfit of hers that I will ever be negative about in the early days. I'm not going to talk about And Just Like That because I've only seen 2 episodes and I've found it really cringy, and it upsets me because I was such a fan of the original.
The whole thing.
I know you did.
I wasn't as attached to the original though, because I didn't really watch it when it was on. I remember my flatmate had the box set, so we watched it all the way through.
DVDs.
At some point. It was never a weekly part of my routine. When it was on.
Well, I also had the box set. I think I bought it bootleg from Bali. I watched it over and over and over again. I felt like it was game changing for me and my idea of style and what it could be. And I think that's down to Patricia Field, just to kind of come full circle. It wasn't so much about they're talking about sex all the time. That's me, my daily life. I wasn't ever shocked or surprised. You know what I mean? I didn't get that much of a kick out of all of that. It was just
it was about the clothes and New York for me.
New York, definitely.
I love shows set in New York.
And I met her,
Did you?
Sarah Jessica Parker. I met her when she brought out that first perfume, Lovely,
Yeah.
I was in New York for a wedding, and I queued up for ages, even though I really hate the perfume. And I got her to sign it, but it's come off the bottle. I asked her how Matthew was. I wanted to have a chat with her, and I was like, there was loads of people
I bet
waiting.
no one ever asks for this.
I was like, how's Matthew? And she was like, good, thanks. Okay, bye.
That is a lot of pressure in that moment of like, it's my time.
I know.
How's she gonna remember me?
I want her to be my best friend. What do I say?
It's funny you brought up TV shows because I hadn't thought of this, but did you ever watch Skins? The UK series.
I didn't.
Yeah, Cassie from Skins is a character. I loved her clothes. She wore like vintage clothes,
Yeah.
but in a less out there way than Carrie Bradshaw.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was a very, and we're going to come back to this word because I saw it's on your questions. Like, as an effortless, as though she just grabbed whatever she could from the charity shop and just
Yeah.
pulled it on in the morning. And she had messy hair, and she would always wear something that was vaguely sparkly, but not in a like dressy way.
Oh,
I
that's
loved
cool.
that. But otherwise, I would say I mostly like influencers. Like,
You like influencers?
yeah, it was in the early days. It was always bloggers, and now it's like people on Instagram. I just love like collecting.
Who was
their
some of the
style
original
and-
bloggers? Who examples?
The one I still follow and love her style is Olivia Purvis, who's from London.
Yeah.
Do you know
yeah,
who you
yeah,
follow her?
yeah.
Yeah. And she's been blogging like since she was a teenager, which like I think she's
Original.
only a few years younger than me. So like I loved her style then. She was into the 60s like I was into the 60s.
Yeah.
She's moved through the 70s like I have. Like
Yeah,
you know, and
yeah.
I just love her style.
And she would always go back to plaid and
always high waisted, everything
Yeah.
high waisted. That's
yeah.
that's my thing.
But you
as well.
said you did a bit of the lower.
Oh, in the
slung
2000s,
thing.
of course.
Yeah. That's half the thing I hate about it, though. It's just like most women have hips,
Yeah.
and that basically
Doesn't look
means,
great.
you know, muffin top. No matter
Yeah.
how. I remember I got quite small in London in my 20s, and I still thought I was fat. I mean, that's a whole nother
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
And I think
could
partly
do a whole
because I
episode on
always
all
had,
that.
like dug in, and I was always really sore. But
It's because
they're
it's a
like
bad
size
place for your
26
pants to fit.
Yeah, exactly. They're
Yeah.
not. It's not natural for them. Anyway. Oh, did you ever get into Man Repeller?
Yeah, but not in a huge way.
Yeah, because I felt like that was quite a Carrie Bradshaw idea
Yes.
behind
yeah,
it,
she was
where
quite
it's
like
like
that.
you're
And,
not.
like style bubble as well.
Yeah.
She
You're not dressing for a man.
Yeah.
You're dressing for fun. The fact that people take the piss out of those outfits, it was like that I love about them. It's
Yeah.
like you've got a bit of you're daring about you to wear them, and confidence and kind of cockiness,
Yeah.
and kind of like don't give a shit
Yeah.
kind of attitude. That's
Yeah.
my favorite kind of style.
Yeah. And when men do comment on it, and you're just like, it's not
Yeah,
for
it's
you.
not for you. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So next question.
Do you think style can be taught?
I think it goes back to what you said at the start, where people don't think that much about what their style and taste is, but they are instinctive about it without realizing, and they have all these things that they like, but they don't know what the common thread is. So in that sense, I think you can be taught what your taste is, or at least how to explain it, how to describe it, how to look for it. You know, the keywords, for instance, if you're online shopping, let's say for vintage,
Yeah.
and you're like, where do I start? I think what I do with clients is I take them to their own wardrobe, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, so these are all things that you've gone out to buy. You've made that purchase, you've made that decision. You probably didn't make it lightly, although these days you might. And so why did you buy it? What attracted you to that piece of clothing? And even something that you never wear, what attracted it to you? And I think for me, it's all really it's a self-analysis process, and it is an analysis of more than just your taste in clothes. It's like, you know, I mean, it's lifestyle stuff, like what's actually practical for you to wear.
Yeah.
But it's also your own influences, what you've loved over time. Like, so let's say you love Gwen Stefani when she was with No Doubt. You might always have that at the back somewhere in your brain, and it might influence that. You know, that just came to me. But there's loads of things like that. What can be taught is, I guess, how to keep it consistent enough that there is that style thread. So your personal style that you explained really well, that there's a thread that brings it all together. So all you need to do is know what the thread is, I guess.
Yeah.
And then that gives you a little bit more direction as to what you're adding, so that it isn't just a kind of mishmash that has no kind of glue to pull it together.
Yeah.
So I think that can be taught. Whether that is a personal style that other people admire is a whole different question, and that is like quite a loaded subject, you know. Someone like Coco Chanel is often quoted in talking about style. I think it's got to the point now where having style, being stylish, especially when they compare it to being fashionable, I think it's almost like it's wrong to be fashionable, but it's right to be stylish. And I think what that really is saying is that you have to be classic and minimal and pared back and kind of and sensible and not be the Carrie Bradshaw who pulls two extremes together. And so for me, I've got a real issue with that whole what's
or
called
it
style.
can be especially because Coco Chanel was a bit of like a style snob.
Yeah,
Totally, like, if you don't dress like me, you have no style. Like,
exactly.
and I think she started all the whole timeless, effortless,
She did.
all of that stuff,
She's to blame.
which I love that stuff. That's a big difference between us.
Yeah.
But I do think the whole like she's got good style thing is either you need to look like that, like wear black and white and look classic all the time,
Yeah.
or you need to look like Carrie Bradshaw, Iris Apfel, like that kind of. They are style icons.
Totally.
There's no thing in between. Nothing.
No thing.
There's no thing. Like there's two ways that you can be stylish, and for some people that's very intimidating because it's like I'm not this side of it that's like the minimalist classic kind of thing. That always seems to be like she was born with that kind of style, and
it's
that's her
hard to
personality.
achieve.
It's hard to achieve. So a lot of people are like, I'm just not that person, but I'm also too scared to be this person, so I guess I'm not fashionable.
And I'll just wear activewear.
Yeah.
That is the majority of women, and it makes me really sad. And I think that's because there are too many rules, too many quotes. There are too many quotes being bandied around.
Oh, like take something off. Like,
And no.
I'll take it off later when it annoys me throughout the day.
Exactly. I do think Chanel's to me. I have to say, I'm not anti Chanel at all, but for me it's problematic that the Chanel collections have basically looked pretty much the same for a century.
You've made a good segue though.
Oh, thank you. I didn't mean to.
Because our next question for you was, does adopting a more sustainable fashion approach mean you have to choose one style and stick to it?
Yeah.
Because that's what this show is going to be a lot about, like how we have enjoyed fashion, but also how we translate that to enjoying fashion in a more modern, like sustainable world. Does this mean we have to just stop where we are and never buy anything new and look the same for the rest of our lives?
Well, it's a tricky one because I've got to a point personally where I buy things all the time, but they are never new. So it's
this yesterday.
And was that new?
No, it's vintage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I know that consumerism is an issue in itself, and a lot of people do struggle because they kind of have an addiction to op shopping, and that can be a problem. And, especially because then you become overwhelmed and you don't know what to
and
wear.
And the op shops become overwhelmed.
Yeah.
That's a whole different thing.
That's a whole different thing. I mean, that's more because you're buying too many new crap things that don't last.
Yeah.
But so for me, it's like I just made that conscious decision to very rarely buy new, and new for me would be okay, I have to get a new bikini or whatever, and then I do all my research to get all the latest sustainable brands, and it's a big deal. And same with undies, but pretty much everything else, including shoes, I get secondhand. So for me, if anything, since becoming more conscious about shopping secondhand, my style has gone to another level. So if you're buying new though, that's a different thing. Let's just say you can't do secondhand
because it's not always like size inclusive.
Yes.
Or if you live somewhere that doesn't have a lot of vintage shops, or
and the prices have gone up with.
Or I follow a YouTuber who's blind called Molly Burke, and she's really into fashion. She loves shopping. She really struggles with vintage shopping because like she can shop very easily. It's amazing watching her shop, but she said vintage is hard because if you're in a new shop, you find something you love and go, okay, grab me that in my size.
Yes.
Whereas vintage, it's just a whole lot more work. She did a whole video on vintage shopping, and it was like tougher for her than like buying, because the other thing we do when we vintage shop is like check it over for stains and holes and everything. So it's a lot more. It's not for everyone.
It's not for everybody. So then I guess I'll be honest, at that point I find it hard to advise because that is not my strong suit. So I guess I would say it'd be really sensible to develop a signature style at the very least, and to mix it up more with accessories. So I like have a lot of jackets, and I like mixing. So I've got my favorite jeans and my favorite t-shirts, just like a lot of people do. But for me then to add the jacket makes it feel like me. But somebody who wasn't buying secondhand, they wouldn't want a selection of jackets because you don't want to be buying all these new jackets that you're not getting a lot of wear out of.
But I mean, they haven't appeared out of nowhere. They probably already have jackets. So
this is true.
This is the other thing. People
wear what
often
you already
think,
own.
Yeah, they think they have to stop wearing the things they bought fast fashion.
Oh, yeah,
10 years ago.
No.
Keep wearing it.
Oh my god, totally. That's a
Wear
massive.
what you have. And the other thing I
Yeah.
have heard you talk about before is secondary storage, which I'm a big fan
Oh
of. as
yeah,
well.
yeah. No, that's
It's like
true.
put your stuff away and rediscover it in a couple of years.
So when you gave me that question, I had this horror of thinking it was somebody starting from afresh and like how do we
no
start
one
the wardrobe?
appears in.
No.
They haven't just got
Okay.
out of prison.
Okay, phew. Well, they can wear the orange boiler suit. I quite
I
like
don't
that
think you
look.
get to keep it.
So yeah, I definitely rotational wardrobe is what I
Yeah.
suggest, or rotational capsule, because my theory is two things. One is that we get overwhelmed if we've got too many options.
Yeah.
When we open our eyes in them, it's totally a visual thing. You literally just go, oh, I don't know. And then the other thing is that we always go to the same items again and again because they're our safe ones and because we know how to wear them for whatever reason. But we then get bored of them, and that's when we think we need more. What a rotational capsule does is you basically pull out, 30 is the nice number for capsules, right?
Yeah.
30 items, separates, bottom tops, layers, shoes, blah, 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 just comes to 30. And basically putting everything else out of sight as much as you can, even if you've got a really small amount of space, there are ways to do it. And then just using those 30 items in as many ways as you can and get really inventive and like say use a summer dress over a turtleneck if it's a cooler day. Wear that dress that you bought for the wedding and have only worn once. Wear it with a leather jacket or whatever. Yeah, just kind of it forces you to be inventive with what you already own. And like I say, you bought all of those things, so they obviously say something about you. So it's really a matter of playing with them until you find out what it is about you, that it says.
Yeah.
So.
And then when you get sick of it all,
And then
go into your
then
second
rotate.
And that's the thing with like that we were talking about 2000 stuff already coming back.
Yeah.
Like that's within our own memory, and there are some, like not many, but there are some things that I still have.
Yeah.
They don't fit. I was a teenager then, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But sometimes it is worth, if it's something you really love or you loved and you spent money on it and it was good quality, it's worth keeping because maybe it will come back.
Definitely. And there's something to be said for like actual proper storage that is safe. You have to protect it from the elements.
And check it if you've had a year of horrendous rain as we have in Sydney.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything leather's going to be mouldy.
And clean it first because there's always those little bits of food that end up. Yeah.
It's work, but I think it's worth it.
Yeah. Oh, we discussed earlier the word effortless came into the conversation, as it always does when one is talking about style. Yeah. And my question to you, Ali, is what do you think of the word effortless and timeless, and like how does that? Do you think that overused?
Like, effortless and timeless are very different words, but like
totally. They both end in less.
Yeah, effortless is a big one for me because I will admit it is what I strive for every day.
Yeah,
it's my goal, and what it means to me when I'm like I want to be effortless is it's like it doesn't mean I want to look like I haven't tried, but it does. Like I want to look good, but I don't want you to think that I have dressed for this particular occasion of recording a show with you. I want you to think I just threw this on this morning and I happened to look amazing every day and I just turned up in what I was already wearing.
Yeah.
That's what I go for.
And why do you reckon that's important to you?
I don't know. Maybe it is because I overthink things so much that I don't want you to know that I've overthought it.
Yeah. Is it a bit like it's like the try hard thing?
Yeah.
He tries too hard.
Yeah.
It's like when a guy tries to get a girl and he's all nice and she's like,
Yeah.
Okay.
And the funny one that comes up is I'll sometimes go for like after work drinks with my husband and his work friends. Yeah. Used to do this a lot more before we had a kid, but like that was the occasion that I always found so hard to dress for because at the time I was working from home and they're in corporate office gear, so they can, like, men in their work clothes can basically go get married that day and they'd look fine because they've got a collared shirt and nice pants and dress shoes. And so to turn up, like go to a bar in the city and meet people dressed like that, looking like, oh, they obviously didn't get dressed for this because it's just casual after work drinks. It's not a big deal to me. I just happen to be looking this good all day and I've just turned up like that's...
It just feels like...
it's not honest.
Is that when jeans come in handy for those occasions?
No,
okay. Well, a lot of people do that whole jeans and a fancy top.
Oh, yeah.
That's been going on for decades. Yeah, exactly. I totally do that. Okay, so I get that.
It's a look, but it's like, do we need another word for it? Because the other thing I wanted to talk about is like when I think effortless as well, is that like fancy, slightly older lady who's wearing like a white shirt and nice jeans and nice shoes, and she's got a bag that's like designer, but you can tell it's not her everyday bag, it's just her running errands bag. And
French.
good.
Is she French?
She's French.
Yeah.
French comes up a lot in my
Yeah,
influences.
yeah.
And there's so much interesting writing about that whole French thing.
Yes.
because France is actually a really multicultural country, and it's always a thin white woman.
Yes.
That's La Parisienne. And that look, and you think is effortless, but so much effort's gone into that, because her shirt is like laundered and pressed properly. It's spotless. Her hair's professionally done. The bag was expensive. She's probably spent years like shopping around trying to find the exact right brand of jeans that fit her perfectly. Like, there's so much effort, and that's what we're admiring, but
not to mention
it's
the facial massage.
yes.
Yeah. No,
And then the other end, I was thinking about like, what is actually effortless? Like, because when you throw on whatever you have and don't iron it, don't do anything to it, no one thinks, oh, she looks so effortless. They think she looks exhausted. You know?
Yeah.
And the one that is, I think, the modern like effortless outfit is what you mentioned before of activewear.
Yes.
And like the stretchy, the leggings, you pull it on, that's usually all black, it matches.
And you look like you've just been doing exercise
all day on
so
it.
aren't you
And
great?
so we think it's effortless,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the body inside the activewear is so much effort to maintain. Like,
yes.
the people that do spend their lives in activewear are very fit, and they spend a lot of effort.
Effort.
They might not put effort into their outfits, but they put effort into how they look in their outfits.
Yeah.
So it's just about like honesty, I guess. If we just be a bit more honest about what we're doing here. I
Yes.
get comments from like, you know, when I drop off my kid at school, or like this morning from the barista at the cafe. It's like, you always look so cool, and I'm like, oh, thank you. But I'm trying not to just be like, oh, thanks, you know, just throw it on. I said to him, because he said, oh, I always see you walking past and your outfits always look really good. And I was like, well, it's part of my job to look cool. Like, I run a fashion business.
Yeah.
I want people to walk in and go, she looks really cool. Maybe if I spend money in here, I'll be cool like her. Like,
of course.
you know, so it's like trying to be honest about like, yeah, I look like this
That's
because I put lots of effort into trying to look cool every day, and that's part of my job. Like,
You've just hit the nail on the head for me, which is what I hate about effortless, the word in this context, is that it's that bullshit. It's effortless.
Yeah.
No way is Kate Moss effortlessly stylish.
Yeah.
Okay, bad example. Maybe she is the one in the world who is.
Sometimes, like when say it's other school mums, they kind of say it as they're like, oh, you always look so good.
Yes.
Like, oh, I should make more of an effort to drop my kid off at school. It's like, I'm not dressing for dropping my kid off at school. I'm dressing for work, and your work probably doesn't require you to like have a creative new fun outfit every day.
Yeah.
So you dress for your day, and like it's just kind of about being like, I'm not. I don't know what am I trying to say?
I know what you're saying. I'm being honest. It's the honesty factor. It goes back to that whole thing we were talking about with all those Chanel quotes, where it's like there's so much bandied around, so much chat about style, fashion, what it is to be stylish. I think that's what really paralyzes people. And
a lot of them are sort of about a woman is stylish. It's just part of her character.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe it is because some people are better at it than others.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just, personally, I think it's people who are good at it are the ones who
work in the field
and put and think about it, which is effort.
Well, that's what I wrote down.
Follow fashion, which is effort.
Yeah, the people who look the most effortless are the ones who put in the most effort every
definitely.
time.
And not for like other people to feel bad that they don't look effortlessly stylish, but it's more the person who's walking around looking stylish is doing it on purpose. And if you want to do that too, I mean, I don't want to plug my service here, but if you want to do that too, there are ways of getting there.
Yes,
you know?
but you also don't really need to if you don't want to.
And you don't need to if you don't want to.
And that's
like,
like,
it does make you feel good.
If you made it to the end of this long-winded show about style, you're probably also really into style. And if you're not, you don't have to. The
irony.
Absolutely making this show for people who are unapologetically into fashion.
Yeah. I'm interested to know what other people think. I don't think we are going to talk about this once and never come back to this.
No, we will definitely repeat ourselves in various, because all of the topics that we have on our little list so far, they definitely overlap in different ways.
Definitely. And I think that
we can come back to this one when we're good podcasters.
Yes, and we'll be so articulate. But I think this is such a loaded subject. Just the whole thing of going to school pickup and people are wearing activewear and feeling
that's why I suddenly got to where I feel like I was talking quite well throughout the whole episode, but then I was suddenly not finishing my sentences and not knowing what to say, because it is loaded, and it's kind of like, wait, am I sitting here being like, I can't help that I'm fashionable? But no, that's not. I have spent so much time trying to look like, oh, I just happen to look amazing every day, and now I'm trying to be more like, no, thank you for the compliment. I do love these clothes, and I did put a lot of time into choosing them.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. I know.
I do that because it's part of my job.
I think that's a beautiful kind
And
of.
it's important to me. Fashion is something that's important to me, and it's not important to everyone else.
Yes. And as the credits come rolling down, we'll say thank you for joining us.
Thank you. We'll welcome friendly feedback.
Yeah. Yes. Friendly only.
Knowing that this will evolve and change, we welcome
Yeah.
tips on how to make a podcast, particularly like
Yeah.
hosting and stuff like that. Where do I do that?
Oh, like the actual studio itself.
Where the thing lives on the internet and how it gets onto people's podcast
Oh,
apps.
right.
That's the whole thing. She hasn't done any research. And tell us in the comments about your relationship at the moment with like personal style and sustainability, and whether that's changed over the years.
And any ideas for future topics or
Yes,
questions.
please.